Pick a niche, stay in your lane, master one thing. Everything you have heard about niching, it's right. In a world with there's 54 million other creators, there's AI democratizing information, and customers are gaining just limitless options. Having a niche being the best solution for one person is the best way to stand out today. How do I know? Who am I? I made $30,000 in 3 months with a niche digital product. Niche. You can see on the screen, these are the receipts. So in this video, I'm going to explain exactly how I did it because I'm not anyone special. I am just like you, average person, didn't have any privilege, anything like that, and how you can do it too. Because we all deserve some success in life, right? We deserve to go after what we want and make it happen. And if I can help you, that is what I am here and that is what I'm all about. So, who am I? Hello there. I am Slater, aka the Biz Gal. If we're just meeting, that makes sense because this is my first video. I am here to help aspiring solopreneurs build six-figure AI-proof, important, digital businesses without being an expert. So you don't need to come in like, yeah, I've been like 10 years in finance. I know everything about investing. No, that wasn't me. That's not most people. And so outside of my business life in my corporate world, I've done marketing for companies like Netflix, Afterpay, Fitbit, Verizon, and more. So I know a little bit about this marketing thing. So before I get into telling you how I made $30,000 in 3 months with a niche digital product, I want to do a quick temperature check, see where you're at, see how you're feeling. So a quick show of hands, are you completely new to this whole business thing? Feeling so overwhelmed that you just have no idea where to start, and maybe you're unable to get your business off the ground because you're just feeling so overwhelmed and just like, I don't know. I don't know the first thing I should do, Slater. Well, I've been there. I was you. Sometimes I still am you. But I have very good news, and that's if you have landed a job, learned on a job, graduated from school, switched careers, made a friend, fell in love, invested money, gotten out of debt, found a hobby, built a skill, lost weight, bulked up, have a passion, existed as a human, you have a niche inside you. Because all a niche is finding one problem to solve. And I don't know about you, but my problems are very plentiful. Not only the problems I have very plentiful, but also problems I've already solved in my life. And again, if you are a human, you have solved a problem. If you're a human, you have a problem that needs to be solved. So, and you don't even need to be an expert to get started in a niche. Like I said, you don't have to be some 10-year finance bro that knows everything about investing or like the foremost expert on training and getting fit or the foremost expert on makeup and how to make yourself glow up. You just need somewhere to start. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. So I mentioned that niching is what led me to make $30,000 in 3 months. What is this magical thing called a niche? I feel like I should have like sparkles around me. Like, what is this niche thing? So I'll make it super simple because I am all about making things super simple because too much of life is complicated. A niche is simple. There's a simple equation to make a niche. A niche is who. So this would be your customer or someone you want to help, plus their goal, the outcome of the problem that they need solved, how you help them solve that problem, and then unicorn magic, which unicorn magic is what makes you unique, what makes you your own unicorn. So here's an example from my business that I mentioned where I made $30,000 in 3 months. So my business, here's an example. Here's the description of it. I helped copywriters and technical writers. That was my who. Make more money. That was their goal. How? By becoming a UX writer. That was how I did it. Because there are so many different ways you can make money. But based in my experience, based in my expertise, becoming a UX writer was the way that I taught. So long story short, the business I ran was called the UX Gal, and it was, again, teaching UX writing to copywriters and technical writers. So one thing I didn't mention in my little equation was this unicorn magic. And unicorn magic, I would argue, is the most important part of a niche. And unicorn magic is just your unique take. Unicorn magic is what makes you stand out from all the other people that have a niche. Because just in my example, like, Joe off the street can say, hey, I also want to help copywriters and technical writers make more money by becoming UX writers. So can Jane, so can Samantha. But what they can't do is have my same unicorn magic. And so I'm going to explain what that means. So there's a concept from Wes Cow, which I'll link the article below, that's called having a spiky point of view. And your spiky point of view is basically in layman's terms, having an opinion that is uniquely yours. It's something that is true, but also maybe a little controversial and a little, it's what you believe and putting it out there into the world. So three examples of a spiky points of view are first, if you are maybe talking about marketing, launches aren't a one-time event. Most companies do a ton of work for the launch, but they don't spend enough time on what happens after. A successful launch means sustaining the momentum once the confetti settles. Also, the next example, stop learning how to give feedback. Focus on learning to receive it. Most people are terrible at receiving feedback, so you only need to be a little better to win. And then the third example is when you teach online, you're 50% an instructor and 50% an entertainer. Attention spans are short, and the responsibility is on the instructor to help students understand why they should care. So all of these are opinions, and there's something you can disagree with. You could be like, I don't know, Slater or Wes Cow, these are her examples. I think being a teacher is being 100% an instructor. So these are all something that make you opinionated, make you stand out. It's a belief, and it's something that people can latch onto and remember you by. It could be like, oh yeah, like Slater is the person who believes that being a teacher is also being an entertainer. It makes you stand out from Jane, who thinks that, being a teacher is the greatest thing you could do in your life. That's an opinion. Someone else might disagree with that. So another kind of take on unicorn magic, which this one might be more approachable if you're like, hey, Slater, I'm not really an expert in something. I don't know. Maybe I don't have a strong opinion, but I really, I like this era as topic. So your unicorn magic can just be you. It can just be who you are, your unique personality, what makes you shine. So for example, if you're a little weird, be a little weird, put your weirdness out there, because other people who are maybe a little weird are going to relate to you. If you're a little corny, be a little corny, because other people who are corny will relate to you. I'm using emojis and calling something unicorn magic. Okay. If you like this vibe, you will like me. And there are 50 million other people on YouTube teaching business. I bet I'm the only one talking about unicorn magic. And if you can relate to this, chances are you might like my content more than someone else's. So again, your unicorn magic can also be your personality. And that's because your vibe attracts your tribe, just as a very catchy way to phrase it all. Your vibe, who you are, what you sound like, how you talk, attracts your tribe. And I think this is a concept that you will feel once you put your personality out there. And so here's an example from me in my business that I ran, the UX Gal. So on the left is one of my competitors in the space. And so this is an example of two blog posts about the same topic. So my competitor was saying over the last few years, a raised awareness among companies about the importance of optimizing UX content has increased demand for content designers. This has driven many to shift career paths in this new exciting area. Okay, pretty dry, stiff, formal, conservative. Now, if you flip over what I said, I'm guessing you started this lesson either feeling super pumped to dive in full force, or you're feeling anxious to pieces because you feel like you're basically taking on a whole new language, or maybe you feel a mix of both. Well, I want to start by saying, while content design might be a different way of thinking than you're used to, you're already a content designer. And then I give very approachable examples of a street sign. So we're saying the same information, but totally different vibes. And different people are going to relate to us, even though we're saying the same thing. So again, your unicorn magic can just be your personality. But Slater, why do I need a niche? Okay, what you're saying makes sense, but I don't know why. Why? So, and that's because if you are for everyone, you are for no one. If you're for everyone, you're for no one. So when you have a niche, it helps you focus on a specific customer and makes you focus on their specific problems and be the perfect person to solve that problem. So again, on YouTube, you could go to 50 different people for anything. But by having a niche, you position yourself as the foremost either expert in that area or the foremost person with a vibe that someone will relate to. Ooh, we have balloons. That was fun. So let me give an example. So without a niche, I might say, hi, I'm Slater, and I help people manage their money. Okay. With a niche, I could say, hi, I'm Slater, and I help women in their 30s get out of debt and achieve financial freedom. So if I am a woman in my 30s who has debt and want to achieve financial freedom, I am going to listen to the person with a niche versus the person without a niche, because it's like, yes, 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 hello, that's me, you see me. And people want the most relevant information possible. They want to be seen, they want to be heard. A niche is what will help you immediately click as that person for someone. In niches, we want to be granular, we want to be specific. This might feel scary, intimidating, and limiting, but I'm going to get to that later and why it's not actually something you have to do forever. So keep watching. So yeah, to break it down even further, the specific customer is women in their 30s. The specific problem they have is they want to get out of debt, and the specific goal is to achieve financial freedom. So this goes back to the niche formula. Again, you have a specific who, specific goal, specific how, and then unicorn magic. So really, I think something to remember, just cut all the business talk. At the end of the day, if you are starting a business, a digital products business, any business, all you're doing is solving a problem for someone. That's it. Business is solving problems, and you sell the solution. And so if you're too broad, you won't be the go-to person for those solutions, because you want to be the best solution for someone, not one of many solutions. And so you might say, but Slater, this feels so limiting. I told you I was going to get to this. This feels so limiting. Well, a niche isn't forever. That's the good news. So instead, a niche is the fast track when you have, no background, you don't have any existing audience, and you want some cash money sooner rather than later. So basically, if you think about it, say I, want to, help people get into business. There are people who have millions of followers that help people get into business. Say you want to become a makeup artist. There are people with millions of followers that are makeup artists, and that's going to make it a really, really, really long road for you to become a makeup artist. And so first is, if you are a makeup artist for, I don't know much about makeup artists. I chose a bad example. A makeup artist, I'll say, for like set design or movies or horror movies. There we go. You are a makeup artist for horror movies. I don't know if that's a thing. Forgive me. I'm not super into makeup. You are going to build an audience faster, and you are going to get to that cash money faster, because again, you apply to a specific person, and it's going to make you stand out from the crowd, and you want to stand out from the crowd if you want to grow fast. So very, common case in point, Amazon. So as you may know, if you don't know, I didn't know for a while, Amazon started out with books. All they sold was books. They were an online bookstore. And fast forward 20, 30 years, they are the everything store. So this is proof that Amazon grew really fast because they started with books. They started with one thing, they were really focused, and they did it really well. But over time, as they gained popularity, as they gained clout, they could expand to other areas. And that is the exact same thing with your niche. You get a foot in the door with your niche, and then once you have that foot in the door, you can broaden. That is the beauty. The niche is the fast track. It's not the end goal. But Slater, how do I find my niche? Maybe I've said all these things and you're like, Slater, this sounds great. I want a niche, but I don't know. How do I find a niche? Where do I start? Don't worry, I got you. There are 5 steps to making a niche. So the first step, make a long list of niches, and I'm going to give you some thought starters on how to go through that. 2, filter it down to just 3 options, and I'm also going to help you do that. Then you're going to rank them. Then you're going to make an informed decision, and then you're just going to get granular. So the first step is to make a long list of niches. And again, a niche is a formula of who your customer, their goal, the outcome of their problem, how you solve it, and then unicorn magic. And so let's start broad. So how you can find your niche is there are 3 prompts for you to think about to find your niche. You can think about yourself 2 years ago. What transformations have you undergone? Where were you 2 years ago that is different than where you are today? What have you achieved? How have you changed? How have you grown? that is something you can have a niche in. That is something you can teach how you did that. That's exactly what I'm doing. I made $30,000 in 3 months with a niche, and now I'm teaching you how to do that. So other examples of this prompt are you lost 20 pounds, you transitioned careers, maybe you got out of debt, maybe you found the love of your life and got married, or maybe you mastered painting. It can be anything. This is just a list of examples. It's not, there can be so many different things. The next prompt is, what are you passionate about? Is there something that lights you up? Is there something you want to teach, something you want to spend your time talking about? So examples of this might be fitness, crochet, coffee, Pokemon, fantasy football. The list of passions and hobbies can be exhaustive. So that's just another prompt. Something you love, something you're passionate about. And then the third prompt is, what do you want to learn about? To have a niche, you don't necessarily need to be an expert. I mentioned that in the beginning. You just have to have, at the bare minimum, something you want to become an expert in. And then you study that, share what you study, and ipso facto, you become an authority because you're learning. You're the student versus the teacher. You're a student that then ends up becoming the teacher. So things you might want to learn about, just as an example, starting a business, investing, AI, real estate, becoming an artist. I can't answer this for you because it's what you want to learn, but these are just some thought starters. So you're going to make a long list of things in all these 3 prompts. This is not a time to filter. Just make the list as long as possible. Just kind of brain dump. And that leads us to the second step, which is to filter it down to 3 options. So take a look at your list and answer one question. Could I think about this topic day in and day out for a year? Because you're going to be doing this a lot. You're going to be talking about this topic a lot. You're going to be thinking about this topic a lot. So you better, be interested in it. So you want to have a niche that feels relevant and interesting to you, not something you're going to dread even thinking about 3 months in, because you want to stick to this. And I'll be honest with you, business is hard. It requires commitment. So if they're picking a topic that you're like, I don't know, maybe it's a good idea, but I don't really feel it in my gut, don't go for it, because you have to feel it in your gut. You have to want to do it. And so go through your list and narrow it down to 3. And then you're going to rank them. So pick 3 that just you feel in your gut. They're like, yes, yeah, I can do that. I can see that. If you need more than 3, pick more than 3, but 3 is the goal. And then we're going to rank them. So we're going to rank them based on 3 variables. The first is your level of interest in the topic. So how pumped are you about this niche? The next one is your knowledge level. How much do you currently know about this niche? If you are in the student category where you maybe aren't an expert, you could say how curious are you about this niche? How much do you want to, how curious are you to learn about it? And then the third area is market potential. So we can't ignore, the world is evolving, and you want to make sure you're picking a niche that has a growing market. So you can research this by looking on Google Trends, looking on Reddit, Googling. You just basically you can ask ChatGPT, how is this market, supposed to grow over the next 5-10 years? And then you just want to understand, you can even ask ChatGPT to compare different markets to understand, this one's, going to grow more than this one. So then you're going to make this nice little table, and you're going to rate your level of interest, knowledge level, or curiosity level, and market potential on a scale of 1 to 5. 5 being, very high, high level of interest, high knowledge level, high market potential, and low being low level of interest, low knowledge level, low market potential. Then you're just going to, this is super easy, add them all up and find which one has, the biggest score. And then, see how that lands, because your gut reaction will tell you a lot. Because you could be like, oh, crochet was the largest, but I don't know. I don't really want to talk about crochet. So you'll have a gut reaction. And then you're going to make an informed decision based on your reaction. So, and again, this, framework is just directional. It should feel good to you. So this exercise is really just to guide you, but I've done this before where I get my feet in the sand and I'm like, I have to do this to the T. And then I get overwhelmed and quit. So don't quit. This is just a framework to help you, but ultimately, it should feel good to you. Feel free to color outside the lines. And so the last step for this is to really get granular, because remember, our niche formula is not just the topics. It's a customer we're helping, the outcome they want, their goal, how we help them, and unicorn magic. So let's do an example. Let's say you choose fitness as the broadest form of your niche. Let's start with the problems you can solve within fitness, or problems you want to study. how you can solve within fitness. So here are some examples of problems. The first one is how to start working out with zero experience. The problem 2 is how to build muscle without bulking up. And problem 3 would be how to stay fit while working a desk job. So you can see how like the same person would not have these 3 problems. That's the power of niching, is you want to be very relevant to a specific person. So they're like, yes, that's my person. So the next step is to figure out who needs that problem solved. Because again, these are very different people who need these problems solved. Or it could be this, these are different goals. And so here's an example of laying on the who. So for how to start working out with zero experience, who would probably be beginners, people who don't know how to work out. For problem 2, how to build muscle without bulking up, that's a common thing that women say. They want to build muscle, but they don't want to get super buff. And problem 3 is how to stay fit while working a desk job, probably corporate employees, And so the next is the how you can help. So just to layer that on, for how to start working out with zero experience, we have beginners as the who, and how you can help them is probably with simple routines and easy to understand education. And so you can see we're crafting a story here. And what this is, I'm getting ahead of myself, but this is going to make making content super easy, making your copy for your marketing super easy, because you are getting specific. You don't have to make something up. You know exactly what you're doing because it's all laid out right here. So back to this. Number 2, how to build muscle without bulking up. Probably gonna help women, like we said, and how targeted workouts and myth busting education. Proving to them that you can build muscle without bulking up. And problem 3 is how to stay fit while working a desk job. We said corporate employees, and probably with short, low effort routines and lifestyle integration, how to make this a part of their life. So don't worry, I did not forget about the unicorn magic. This is the most important part. Let's layer on some unicorn magic. And apologies for this slide. There's so much meat here. But so problem 1, how to start working out with zero experience. We have beginners, simple routines, easy to understand education. An example of unicorn magic here could be your spiky point of view. You don't need a personal trainer. You need a plan that feels like it was designed by your best friend who gets it. That is a vibe that it will attract a certain tribe. Problem 2, how to build muscle without bulking up. We're targeting women with targeted workouts and myth-busting education. And unicorn magic here is the real reason women don't see results, they're scared to eat enough to build anything. Okay, that is a belief, a spiky point of view that you could build your whole business content after, because there you go. That's what you solve. Not only do you help them, build muscle, but your angle is that you're also not eating enough. See how that makes you specific? And then if you're a woman in this position, you're going to be like, whoa, that is the expert I need. And then problem 3, how to stay fit while working a desk job. We have corporate employees, short, low effort routines and lifestyle integration. And unicorn magic here could be, you don't need 60-minute workout. You need 60 seconds, 60 times a day. That is a unique perspective. And that's going to make you stand out from all the other fitness bros online who just say, the same thing. So, and again, I just really want to emphasize this is not a linear process. And it doesn't need to be perfect to just get started. Just start and pick a niche and then change your niche. Just experiment. This is not a okay, check kind of process. This is get started, get focused, get started. And things can change. It is a messy process. And the most important thing you can do right now is just start somewhere. Test the waters. Nothing is permanent. So how I really want you to use this is, again, with this really detailed niche, it can tell you what content to create, how to market yourself, and what products to sell, because you have a map for exactly what you do with your niche. And it makes it super clear to other people what you do and why you are different, because in this age of AI, in this age of a million creators, you need to be different. You do need to be different. And you are different. You have a uniqueness, a vibe, something special about you. And if you emphasize that, you will succeed. So I know this deck was extremely dense. I have the slides available for download in the description below, so you can find that link. And then also, I just want to know, was this helpful? This is my first video back, so let me know in the comments if this was helpful. And if it was, liking and subscribing will really help me continue to help you and have my video surface more and help people like you. So if you want to help me, help other people, help this channel grow so I can keep creating content, Consider liking and subscribing. It's never required. But yeah, if this was helpful, please let me know. And thank you so much for watching. And yeah, stay tuned for more content from me.